Hi, everyone. This is my name is Jason. I'm the owner and travel butler at Travel Simplicity, and I'm very pleased to welcome back a friend of mine, Jean-Michele from the whole way from New Zealand, and we're going to talk about some stories of New Zealand today. So, Jean-Michele, hello.
Hello, Jason. Happy to be with you again.
Yes, you too. Good morning. No tea, I see.
Oh no, I've got the tea.
Oh, you got the
Yeah,
tea. Different mug.
yeah, different mug, and this tea is all the way from the US.
Oh, very very nice. All right. So what inspirations do you have for us today of New Zealand?
I've been upskilling myself on the IT side of things, and what I thought we might do today is share a few photographs
I'd
that
love to.
we've taken, or that friends of ours have taken around New Zealand, and just chat about those.
That sounds great. Let's do it.
Cool. So please bear with me while I work out how to share my screen. Can you see that?
Yes.
Cool. Well, is there anything here you would like to talk about? Anything that grabs your attention, or would you like me to select something?
You know what? I'm intrigued by this the a picture of the ice there with someone peering in the inside of
Yep,
it.
this one.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah, so what's
Yeah.
going on here?
Well, that's actually my family through there. With on the right-hand side is a glacier
Oh,
guide, and I took that photo. Um, and that's actually a private trip we did up Fox Glacier. So you get up there by helicopter. It's a short 5-minute helicopter hop.
okay.
Or if you got the time, you can walk for a couple of days. And basically, what your guide does is he takes you on a fresh route. So he shows you how he cuts ice stairs. And when there's steep bits, you tie up by rope and come down the steep bits and so on. So it's a really nice, gentle exploration of a wild glacier. And that's on
A
the west
gentle
coast of the South Island.
exploration where you're cutting rock, you're cutting steps out of ice.
Yeah, but it's not full on. Well, full on for us is going up with Everest guides and being at risk of your life. Whereas this is something anyone can do.
Yeah, okay. Well, it's nice that you can do it both ways.
Yeah, yeah, it is nice. Although I wouldn't really recommend the first unless you're totally, extremely fit.
Yeah, I can imagine that. So, I mean, you literally are going places that people aren't, very few people, I should say, are walking to. It's not like you're going to just accidentally stumble in this place.
No, no, no. You have to specifically try and get here. And there's around some of our special places here, there's quite a few controls. So it would be very difficult for random people to come in from the side, for example. It would be almost impossible physically anyway,
Okay.
but it's also prohibited. You have to access it in a certain way where the integrity of what you're seeing is protected by your guide.
Sure. Yeah, you don't want to destroy it. That's so important. I know that that's something that, certainly in our industry we've been talking about for a while, is, ecotourism and being careful to uh, do travel in a way that the environments and the places that people visit aren't, negatively influenced. Um,
Absolutely, yeah. We've
what do
always
you,
been big supporters. Sorry?
I mean, that's something that's interesting to talk about. I mean, what do you see happening in New Zealand that way, and what do you think? What do you think about that? What do you think we should be paying attention to?
Oh, yeah, yeah. I think it's something we could be doing a lot better. And I think it's something that we probably don't do that badly compared to some people out there. But there's still not enough protection of the environment in this country. Now, our end of travel with the small private groups um, is, for me, the right way to travel because you've got small footprints and we never overwhelm a particular geographic place or activity or whatever. So we've got very limited chances of actually degrading it. The issue that I have is with mass tourism, and where you have people that have the bums on seats mentality to tourism, where
Right.
the more people they can get into somewhere, the more money they're making, and they don't really care about the environmental consequences. So personally, I think we're small enough as a country and far away enough as a country that we should be able to take a lead in controlling, if not banning, mass tourism in this country.
I know
But
one of the
uh,
things that I found interesting when I was there myself is how, and I know that sometimes this can actually cause some issues or some frustration, even with at least that's what I hear from some of the locals, is how protective the government is of the natural resources in New Zealand,
yeah,
but how that is also such a positive
yeah, yeah. As always, you've got to be careful because there's lunatics on both sides,
thing.
and you've got to make sure that they don't grab a hold of the agenda. Um, but I would say, in general, that we need to do it better here. And I'm quite a liberal, um, and but yeah, I've seen the effects of people pandering to that mass tourism market, especially over the last 5 years in this country.
Mhm.
And I think it's something that we shouldn't be having in this country.
You know, I think that we're going to see more and more people that are interested in that too for different reasons. You know, going forward, I think I even mentioned to you I saw one major publication was talking about the future of travel and basically being these small, intimate, private experiences. And
Yeah,
for me, it's like, well, great. I mean, that's what I've been doing and creating for the last 11 years. It's nice to
yep,
know it's finally trending. Uh,
yep.
but for people that aren't used to that, it's going to be a big shift. I think a shift for the better because what if people have only experienced the big group trips, um, they don't really know what it can be like to have that intimate personal connection, which
Yep,
is what they're going
yep,
to get when it's smaller and more
yep.
tailored.
Absolutely agree with that. Totally agree with that. And for yeah, personally, one of my keywords is connection.
Yeah.
It's about connecting with your landscape, connecting with your guides, connecting with the people, connecting with the culture, and that's much easier in a small, intimate group. In a big group, you're just you may as well stay at home and watch it on TV.
Right, absolutely. Well, let's
Uh,
speaking of such, let's look at the pictures. Let's
See
see
what
the
else we've got.
picture.
Oh,
Oh, that's a
we've selected that by itself. Okay. Is there anything else that grabs you, or should I select one at random? Your choice.
how about you pick one?
Oh my God. Uh,
I know there's so many, but which is one that just stands out to you?
okay. Uh, some of my personal favorites in this country is stuff that we
Oh
do
yeah.
with Maori. Um, and these are three very good friends in a sacred place, a sacred Maori place. The forest that they're in here has 1,600-year-old trees in it, Totoro, which is a New Zealand tree. It's a place where we take select guests and introduce them to the Maori culture. And it's probably the reason I picked up on it is not just because I really love these guys, which I do, but it's because this is one of the things that, having been through the country, a lot of our guests say was one of their highlights, if not the main highlight. So it's a thing that a lot of people before they come to New Zealand don't have a clue about, and when they leave New Zealand, it's one of their favorites. So that's why I selected the photo.
So Jean-Michel, you talk about connection. How do you, I mean, I can imagine that that would really apply well to this photo. I mean, in what ways do you see the connection here?
Um, the, yeah, the Maori welcome is a process of getting to know who your visitors are. Now, it was developed, it's part ritual and part ceremony now, and it was developed in the days when people would visit your tribal land and you wouldn't know if they were friends or enemies. So the entire welcome process is a process of getting to know and of connecting. It's this process is actually designed in order to connect. So what does that mean? It means when you turn up on a neighboring tribe's piece of land, Maori had no ranged weapons in the day. All their fighting was done hand to hand. And so when you're within arm's reach of Maori, you're in deadly danger. And there was a famous face-off once between a Maori warrior with a taiaha, which is one of these quarter staffs you see, and a Japanese samurai with a 2,000-year-old sword. I'm sorry to say the sword got broken. These guys are really, really fierce. So the first step they do in the welcome is come at you in a seemingly aggressive way. Now, what that is meant to portray is, hey, mate, if you're coming here with the idea of fighting us, then this is what you've got to get through. And you go through peacefully, showing that you've come in peace, but the whole time they're on the defensive because they're defending their women and children who are behind. It's always, in the Maori world, the men in the front, and it's absolutely not chauvinistic. The men are in the front because they're expendable. Women are the birthplace of the future and children are the future. They are not expendable. Whereas us blokes are totally expendable, so we're at the front. Then once you reach a central point, the ceremony starts with blessings, thanks to the powers that be for letting you come here on that particular day. And then you stand up and you introduce yourself. You say, I'm so-and-so, I come from so-and-so, and this is why I'm here, and so on. And then you sing songs together. And Maori are very, very musical, and the singing of songs is an act of coming together. And then you finish with what people think of as touching noses. It isn't touching noses. What you do is you're actually pressing nose to nose and forehead to forehead. And you're taking a deep breath in. So you're sharing the breath of life is what you're doing. And at that point, you're becoming one. And for those that believe in spirituality, forehead to forehead, your third eyes are checking each other out at the same time. At that point, the formalities stop. It all just chills. You sit down, they start cracking jokes and say, okay, any questions about anything that you've seen or about anything in Maori in particular? And questions come from all sorts of different angles. There's nothing that's taboo in terms of questions. And then some of the questions happen in that place. There is another place where spiritual ceremonies used to happen, which is another very old tree. This one about, I think it's about 800 years old. And it's hollow. It's a living tree, but the bottom of it is a hollow trunk. And so for quite some time, groups have gathered in there to perform ceremonies. So you sit in there and carry on the conversation. And then there's a little pergola a bit further away where the food is prepared. And they call it the superstructure because it's the only structure there. So again, there's always a fair bit of humor with these guys. And then you sit down and have some food and keep talking. And then they bring out the musical instruments and you keep talking. So after what can be quite an intimidating start, where the adrenaline's going and you're put in touch with your own ancestors in the Maori way, and you can feel your own parents and grandparents with you, it just mellows and mellows and mellows. So you can imagine how connected you are by the end of that time.
That sounds like a really special experience.
It is very difficult to describe, but you can get a feel of it from these quite strong faces you can see here.
How much has Maori culture stayed? I don't know of a better way to ask this, but how much of it has stayed authentic, and how much of it has been changed or lost or become touristic?
Very, very good question. And we're into something now where we can talk for days.
So maybe give us the sound bite with the understanding that there's a whole lot more to be said.
Yep. Now, Maori are very, very versatile and very adaptable. So the Europeans, the English signed a treaty here in 1840. In 1870, the biggest traders between New Zealand and Australia were Maori. So in 30 short years from having been introduced to Whitey, that they were out there beating Whitey at his own game. So first thing about Maori is if they can get their hands on a fridge, they will. If they don't have to walk somewhere and they can go there in their four-wheel drive, of course they're going to take their four-wheel drive. So what they have done is they have blended their culture with whatever's available in the world, whilst they've been trying not to lose sight of what's essential to them.
Okay.
Now, how successful they've been at that, these guys that you see here have been totally successful at that. They live in very nice houses in nice parts of different towns. They have full lives, often a lot of community service in their lives, very community-minded people. The one on the right is a master carver. He's got major carvings throughout the country, and really, really humble guy. The one in the middle works with mental health organizations. And so that again, using the latest in technology and research out there, but blending it with Maori values. So very, very successful. One on the left is just a total lunatic. And he works in fitness and also does a huge amount for the community. During the COVID-19 thing, him and his wife were out there every day delivering stuff to old people and looking after them. So that gives you an idea with these three of how they've blended their traditional values with modern living. Having said that, there's plenty of Maori over time who have become alienated because with the industrialization of New Zealand, there was a move to the cities. They lost connection to their tribal land. And with that, they lost connection to their a lot of their culture. And they ended up becoming like the rest, or like a lot of the rest of the world, losing the special things that made them Maori. A lot of them since then, since 1990, have reconnected. But like every culture, there's success stories and there's not so successful stories.
That makes sense.
Did that sort of answer it?
Yeah, it did. Well, let's look at one more picture for inspiration. And
okay, you choose this one.
Okay. Let's see.
Oh, actually,
one of the what were we going to say?
There's one down here where the helicopter view, which is pretty nice. But you go ahead. You go ahead.
You know what? It's a little bit more typical, but I don't think a lot of people who haven't been to New Zealand probably know what jet boating is. So let's look at one of those pictures.
Yeah, okay.
Because it's just beautiful.
Oh, yeah, I love it. Yeah, there you go.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. This is one of my favorite activities, actually, in the country. And I don't know if you're familiar with what I call the motorcycle grin. When you're on a motorbike, you just smile for no reason. Yeah. Jet boats are the same thing. When you're in a jet boat, you just start smiling. Now, jet boats were invented in New Zealand. You can see the sort of terrain. This is one of our favorite rivers for jet boats because you get all sorts of different jet boating. I'll just do you a close-up on a different photo.
And for people that don't know, what is a jet boat?
A jet boat is a boat. It's got nothing to do with jet engines, and it's got everything to do with a jet of water. So it's like a jet ski, but bigger. So they were invented in New Zealand in order to navigate shallow water. So you've often got a wonderful big block Chevy V8 engine powering it. So us motorheads have big grins just from the sound of it. What that does is it pushes a jet of water from the front of the boat out to, through an impeller and out the back to a very maneuverable outlet. And this allows you to turn this thing on a dime. It only needs, once it's up on the plane, as you can see, this boat here is on the plane. Once it's up on the plane, it only needs 4 inches of water. So you can go through some very, very shallow water. And going back to that, oh, hang on, this is a good photo. Here, you can see what actually happens. Those gravelly bits, those are out of the water. You hit those and the jet boat comes to a sudden stop. And you end up going over the front, which isn't too good a look. Luckily, these guys have never done that because they're good drivers. But you can imagine the skill it takes when you're going at 50 miles an hour down a river and you're trying to get up a narrow channel like that. It's phenomenal skill on the part of the driver.
Well, places, I mean, you're going places that you can't get any other way, or at least not easily.
That's right, yeah. A lot of people don't know that jet boats were actually invented in New Zealand, and they were invented in order to access what was inaccessible. Not everyone can afford a helicopter.
Yeah.
And so to get it, these were basically invented for farmers and for hunters and for fishermen and then for hikers as more and more hikers came along. So there's ways to access the backcountry in a real fun way. And it's really quite smooth because there's no waves around. Yeah. So it's very, very smooth for those people who don't like their back being jarred.
Well, you can see a little bit of it here, but I think it's the first time when I was in New Zealand, was the first time I ever saw blue water the way that you have it there. And it, because of the glacier fed rivers and water, it's just absolutely breathtaking.
It is totally breathtaking. Yeah.
And then you've got the mountains as a backdrop. I mean, it's really something special.
There's another photo I've got somewhere else. Let me just, no, it's not there. What have I done? Okay. One we took from a video still that shows that. I think, here we go. There, the water there.
Yeah.
That's just something else, isn't it?
It is.
You could spot trout. This fat guy here, that's me.
Is that why the boat's leaning to the side?
I was trying to spot a trout.
Oh, that's beautiful. Man, the greens and the blues and that's so.
Yeah.
Well, Jean-Michele, thank you again.